All right, so for today's review, we are going to be taking a look at the Diecast Masters Cat 349FL. Now, this is a relatively, I would say, a little bit older release from Diecast Masters. I've had this model in my collection for quite some time now, and never really made a video on it. When I got the model, I wasn't really making any videos on it, and decided, hey, now I've done some modifications to it, and now that I kind of want to get back into doing some reviews, figured I would show you guys my 349F. So it's a little bit different than the standard 349F that you get from Diecast Masters, as you'll see throughout the review. So we're going to go ahead and start off with taking a look at the car body. So one of the things that I decided to do with my 349F is put an ISM cab guard on there. My good friend Custom Styrene Lee helped me out with this. He put the cab guard on, and then he took the old cab lights that were on the 349F and put them on the cab guard right there. And then obviously the cab guard is glued down onto the model. So those of you unfamiliar with the 349F or some of the newer released Diecast Masters models, the operators are, they always put a part of the cab that is removable to put the little operator everyone calls Bob in and out of the machine. But on this machine, that part is underneath the top cab guard, and is glued down, so it'll never be coming off. I'm never really a fan of the operators, so that's not really a big deal to me. So that is the cab, and you also do have a fairly nicely detailed cab. You know, everything's modeled very nicely, and you have the cat logo stamped on the back of the seat. And then coming to the side of the car body, you have a nice cat logo right there, and this is a 349FL XE. And then you have some simulated guarding here. It's not a part of the casting, it's just a decal on the side. And then you also have a nice little warning decal right there on the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and swing this machine around. And then you have a plastic handrail right here, and you have a air cleaner right there as well that is plastic. Coming to the rear of the machine, you have a fairly nice counterweight. You can see all the bolts that are simulated on to the counterweight. You have a nice cat decal, and then you have some little reflectors right there. Now, I kind of feel like the exhaust on this model is a little small compared to the real one on the machine and or some of the other machines in my collection, but that is just what Diecast Masters decided to go with. And then you also have another warning decal right there. You also have a simulated latch for this opening engine compartment. This model doesn't open, but you have the latch simulated, and you also have the simulated mesh that is for some venting for the engine. And then you have a nice Cat 349 decal right there. And then all these little handrails and stuff are plastic. This is a little bit harder of a plastic, whereas this is a little bit more of a flimsier plastic. And then I'm not sure if the steps going up to the car body are metal or if they're plastic. I believe they are plastic since they do have a little bit of flex to them. See if I can get this on camera for you. I'll just zoom down there. It's got to be careful. But as you can see, the step does flex there, so I'm almost positive that it is plastic. And then coming up to the top of the car body, you don't really have any anti-slip texture. You can see your swing motors in there, so I definitely don't want to be caught walking on this specific machine during the wintertime on this slick surface, because you will slip and fall. And then coming to the top of the engine cover, it is fairly nice. Has some nice details on it, and then you can also see some of the simulated hydraulics that are a part of the boom, and some of the silver accents to either represent a coupler or a connection on the hoses. And you have some rubber hoses down there, and then you also have some rubber hoses on top that run to your cylinders. And while we're taking a look at the boom here, you do have some boom lights. You have a boom light right there, which is nice. And you also have one on this side as well, up here. Now the stick, if we'll go ahead and stretch this guy out there for a minute, and we'll go ahead and fix the zoom here. So the stick on the model is fairly nice. Now the hydraulic lines were also redone on the model, because when you get the 349F, the hydraulic lines look a little funky. They're kind of just all over the place, and they don't look the most realistic. So these were changed on the model, which is nice. Now my cat decal on the boom is got a little bit, I'm not sure if when they stamped it, they just didn't have enough white paint on it, but you can see it is kind of missing some white there. No big deal. Nothing, really crazy to write home about. Now we'll take a look at the tracks on the model. So the undercarriage, you have some decals to simulate the lifting points, and then you also have some nice steps. You also have some nice simulated rollers, both on the top and the bottom. And then you have your idler and sprocket, which have a fair amount of detail as well. And overall, it is a fairly nice model with a good amount of detail for the price that you pay. Now, I guess we'll get to some of the functionality of the machine. So your stick goes out about that far. Now, I did upgrade the bucket and also put a thumb on this model. So in certain positions, if you have the stick all the way out, if you're going to go over your tracks, you can see that the model does kind of want to tilt and, fall towards the bucket since that bucket is heavy. So that is something to look out for if you're trying to display your machine. You don't want to have it tip over on you. So that's as far as the stick goes out, and then this is as far as the stick will go in. Now the thumb on this model does not interfere with the stick coming in. That's as far as it will come in. And then the range of motion on the bucket is fairly decent. That is as far out as it will go. I'm thinking that when they made the model, the ram is fairly larger than the actual cylinder jacket, so that is why it doesn't curl back all the way, and or there is some sort of stop in the cylinder. Now that I think of it, I'm actually thinking that it has to do with the added hydraulic lines, because I'm pretty sure that is just a piece of brass that goes all the way through, so I'm sure that is what is stopping the bucket from going all the way back. But you also get a nice curl with the bucket. It will go in all the way, and the thumb, like I said, doesn't really affect the motion. Now this bucket can come off, and I do have I believe 3 others. I have another digging bucket, a trenching bucket, and a ditching bucket. But they're kind of a pain to get on and off of the model. So this bucket is the one that stays on it, and this bucket is the only one that lines up with the thumb. And then the thumb does have a fairly decent range of motion. It's not a progressive link, so it's not going to follow the bucket all the way back. So that is about as far down as it will go. It's not too terrible of a gap between the thumb and the bucket when you have that bucket curled all the way back. The standard machine is going to have that unless it has a progressive link to follow that bucket all the way back. And then this model will dig down fairly deep. So we're going to go ahead and move those hydraulics down. So that's about as far down as it'll go. And like I said, I'm almost positive the cylinders are a little bit larger than the cylinder jackets. But it will go up a fairly decent amount. That is about as high up as the boom will go. And then it will fold up nicely for transport with that thumb and bucket on there, which that is a nice pose right there, especially if you want to have it on a lowboy. So overall, this is definitely a nice little model from Diecast Masters. It's definitely one of my favorites, considering CCM did come out with the E model, and I had a couple of those here before on the channel, and I ended up getting rid of all my CCM stuff. So it is nice to have a relatively affordable $349. Now, it's not going to have all the bells and whistles that the CCM 349 is going to have, but you're paying a fraction of the price, and you can be a little bit rough with this model and not have to worry about it breaking. So other than that, it's definitely a nice little model, and if you're looking to pick one up, definitely do so. And they're fairly easy to customize or do whatever you want to them, especially if you just upgrade the hydraulics and that's all you want to do. It definitely adds a lot better look to it than the crazy little hydraulics that they put on with the model. So with that being said, that's all I have for this review. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. And if you're new to the channel and you want to see some more model reviews and or some more of my models from my collection, consider hitting that subscribe button. But that's all I have. Thanks for watching.